Dear students, welcome to the e-learning. This initiative is taken by Cambridge International School, the SUA. Hello, I am Navdeep, working as PGT Informatics Practices here. So, students, till date we have covered the basics of programming. So, today we will cover yet another important part, that is for loop. For loop is part of iteration. What is iteration is? Iteration is the process where we repeat a fixed number of steps again and again. So to save the efforts, the looping concept where the repetition is required, we use the looping. So for this we have a for statement in Python. Students, till date we have covered now the quite a bit of the basics, data types, operators, expressions, precedence of operators. It means that how the operators will be evaluated, debugging, that is to remove the errors, and in last lecture we covered functions and control statements. So just have a recap. So here the picture gives you the details. So what are the basic data types that we have in Python? Clear? So we have already gone through this one. Moving forward, then we covered operators. So what are the different type of operators we have? Arithmetic operator, relational operator, logical operator, and membership operator. So operator is basically it acts in between the operands. So here in this example, plus is a operator. We also say it as a binary operator because it is working on two operands. Then we covered the expressions. So see here, like the four examples are given here. So what is expression? It is a combination of operators and operands, and how that operators and expression will be evaluated, that is decided by the precedence of operators. So what is the precedence of operators? That, let's say, multiplication and plus. So plus is having a higher priority and multiplication is having a more priority. So first the multiplication operator will be evaluated. So if in any expression we have parentheses, so you know the parentheses is having the highest priority, so they will be evaluated first. And when we have a operators of equal order, so then the expression from the left hand side will be start evaluated. Students, then we covered another part, debugging, very important part of programming. So here what we do here, we try to remove the errors. Syntax error are the easiest way to remove, because when we run a program, so the Python interpreter that highlights that this is the syntax mistake you have made. Logical errors are basically difficult to remove because while writing the program we have made some mistakes. Clear? But they are not the syntactical errors, they are the logical errors. We have misplaced our logic somewhere. So they are difficult to find because the logic interpreter cannot provide us the help on the logical errors. And then finally we have runtime errors. These are the errors that they occur at the runtime. So like we gave the example of division by 0. Students, finally we covered the function. This is very important part. So in last lecture we covered the basic, what are the different built-in functions. They are also called the ready-made functions. So two built-in functions that we focused is the input function and print function. So what are the important constituents of a function? The first, we need to know the name of a function, then how many arguments are supplied to a function, and we can have a function without arguments also. And then the third important attribute of a function is the return value. So what type of value a function is returning? So we can have also functions which don't return a value. So this is what we have covered in the earlier part that I have just recapped for your help. So this is the type of functions, input output functions, then we have data type conversion of functions, then we have mathematical functions, and then the other functions. So the another important constituents we covered is the if statement. So if statement is having the three constituents: simple if statements, second is if else statements, and third is if else if else. So that is a nested sort of a or ladder if else statements. So these are the three types of if else statements we covered with examples. So number of problems are based on if else also. So students, moving to the today's topic, that is the for loop. So we have already covered what is a loop. Loop is iteration where the fixed number of steps are repeated again and again. Clear? So sometimes we need to repeat a certain things for a particular number of times. For example, a program has to display the attendance for students of a class. So here the program has to execute the print statement for every student. So in programming, this kind of repetition is called looping or iteration and is done using for statement. The for statement is used to iterate over a range of values or a sequence. The loop is executed for each time in the range. So the values can be numeric, string, list or tuple. So moving a bit on the for loop. So here in for loop, when all the items in the range are exhausted, the statements within the loop are not executed. So when the condition is met basically, so the control comes out of the loop and Python interpreter starts executing these statements immediately following the for loop. So the after the for loop is over, so then the statements which is following the for loop starts getting executed. While using the for loop, we should know in advance the number of times loop will execute. So this is the precondition for a for loop, that we must know in prior that how many times the loop will be executed. Students, next is the syntax of the for loop. Very important part. Clear? So first we have a keyword for. Clear? You can see here. So we have a for keyword. Then the second parameter is the control variable. So the control variable is basically that is going to control the how many times the loop will executed. And then again in is a keyword, and then we have subsequently sequence or item in range. Clear? That will decide how many times the loop will run. And after this colon marks the end of this for condition part, and then we have the following part is the body of the for loop, that is basically described by the indentation. No indentation, what is it? So now we'll take an example that how the for loop will be processed. So moving to the Jupyter notebook. So coming to the Python platform, students. So you see here, now you can properly see the screen here. So my program is, I will just write a comment here, print the even numbers in the given sequence. So students, the first I take a variable numbers, and then I create a sequence. It's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, and let's last 10. Fine. So here from this sequence I want to check that I want to find the even numbers using the for loop. So I will start with the keyword for, then my control variable, in again keyword, and this is my sequence numbers variable. And then you see after typing colon, when you select enter, automatically the indentation part starts. So I place here a if statement. So if, and then 2, and what we do here, equal to is my comparison operator. If let's say number is divided by 2 and its remainder is equivalent to 0, so this is, you can say, the condition for a even number. What is the even number? If the number is divided by 2 and we get the remainder as 0, so that number is basically called a even number. And you see students, but the message I want to print here now, print num, this is a even number. So you see here the program is now ready, so you can go to this run button, click this one. So you see here, so what the loop is doing, loop this is the control variable, and this will this sequence will be started here, and then we have a condition. That condition is that if my num starting with this 1, if it is divided by 2 and we get the remainder 0, so we say that this is an even. So 1 will not get divided, clear. 2 get divided, 2 is printed, then 3 will not get divided, so then 4, then 5, then 6, and 7, and 8, 9. So all the numbers are checked and the even numbers are thrown out here. So students, if I have the same program, I have to print the odd numbers. So you see here, very simple, you just replace this one, clear. So now the number should not be equivalent to 0. So like if you run this one, so you will get the list of all odd numbers, and the message is still even, so you can change the message also. So replace this one with the odd number, again run this one. So now you exactly in the list we are able to find all the odd numbers also. So you know that students, this list contains only 10 numbers. If it is containing 100 numbers, 200 numbers, so with looping this process becomes very easy, where we have to repeat say fixed number of steps again and again. So moving back to our PPT, students, next we have a range function. So range is again is a built-in function in Python. The syntax of range is, so again the range is having 3 parameters. First is start, then is stop, and third is step. Start from where it is the range is going to start, stop means where the range will stop, and step means if we want to have a increment. By default it's get incremented by 1. If I want to increment it by 2 or 3 or 4, so that you can do it with the help of a this parameter, clear. The value you will have to put here. So students, moving to the Jupyter notebook for running the example of the range. So coming back to the Python platform, so for range, let's say first create a list using the range function. So if I here supply the value 10, and students, if I run this one, so you see here a list is containing now 10 values starting from 0 up to 9, clear. So similarly, let's say I am creating a list. So I have just mentioned here the stop value. I have not mentioned a start value as well as the step value. So I am using it again, but now with the start value also, starting from 2 going it up to 10. So let's say I run this one now. So you see the list is now starting with 2 and it keep going up to 9, because the upper bound of the range is not included here, so it will go up to 9 as in the last case also. Now the third one is, let's say student, I create a third list range, and let's say now I want to start with 0, it should go up to 30 and with a step value of 5. So now when you run this one, so now it's starting with 0, fine, then 5, 10, 15, 20 and 25, because 30 is not included. If you will keep it up to, let's say 31, so you know the 30 will get included in the list. When you run this one, you know 30 is now there, because upper bound I have changed, stop value I have changed to 31, so 30 can be now included in the list. So this is a bit of a range. So now with one more example, list, I want to create a range, and let's say my starting value is now 0, it should go up to, let's say, -9, and let's say my step value is -1. So you see here, students, with -1, so the first value is 0, then -1, -1 again, if you -1 here, -2, so it will go keep on going up to the -8. So this is the different ways we can make use of the range function. So students, moving with the looping topics, the next topic is nested loops. What are basically the nested loops? Nested loops are the loops within a loop. So a loop may contain another loop inside it. So a loop inside another loop is called the nested loop. When we have a loop within another loop, so that process is basically called a nested loop. So to have the example, we'll move to the Jupyter notebook. So students, we are going to implement the concept of nested loop. So I will start first the outer loop for, let's say, I, a control variable in, let's say, range. So I make it as 5. So colon. So students, if I put here the my hash, so just for printing a comment, this is my outer loop. Now students, here in the here I want to just print something, that iteration I of the outer loop. So this is message also and printing of the variable value also. Then moving to the inner loop for, let's say, j in, let's say, I keep it as range 2. So students, look carefully that this is my inner loop. Clear? Loop within a loop. So here what I want to do, I just want to print the value of j, and then just a message, make use of proper indentation, print quotes out of inner loop, and final message, print out of outer loop. So okay, so let's say I run this one now. So students, I got some error here. So it's very important to understand about the errors also. Here the error is that type error is can only concatenate string, not the integer, to string. So here I have used the concatenation for basically formatting purpose. So I need to convert into a string for proper output. So removing the error is very important part of the programming. So I again run this one. So students, this time the program is functioning successfully. So you see here, this is my outer loop. So iteration 0 of the outer loop. Let's say I want to format it properly, I can place a space here, and you can see my output is now a bit better. Run again. So now there is a space. So iteration 0 of the outer loop, then the control comes to the inner loop, this loop. So for j in range 2, so this will start from 0 and keep go up to 1. So then the control comes here out of the inner loop, and then the control goes for the again to the outer loop, and this process is repeated for 5 times. So this is 0th, then first, then second, then you see here third and fourth. Why up to 4? Because we have started from 0, that's why the outer loop runs 5 times from 0 to 4, and the inner loop is repeated 5 times. 0 1 0 1 0 1. Clear? 0 1 0 1. This step is repeated how many times? 5 times. So students, you can look closely. I have used 2 loops. My this far is acting as an outer loop, and inside this indentation tells that this is a inner loop. Clear? So j is my inner loop. So this part is my inner loop, and then when the control comes out of this inner loop, this value gets printed, and control again goes back to this one. So this is how my nesting of loop is done. So the indentation you see here, the indentation, yeah, this space basically says that this is the part of this one. This space tells that this print j is part of this inner loop. Clear? Again, this statement is out of this indentation, so it means now it has become the part of this one. So this indentation is also equally important, and it's to be carefully used when we are using the concept of nested loops. So students, today we have focused on the for loop, very important. Clear? So loop is what we have iteration, where we need to know, where we know that how many times the process will be repeated. So for that one, we make use of loops. Finally, again coming back to the PPT part. So at the end, students, I thank you all for attending this session. Thank you very much.